So Thomas has talked about the strategy and where we are going and about Europe. I'm just give you some practical information and some numbers for 2016. I don't know, maybe you have read our annual report, but in case you haven't, this is what happened in 2016. This is, you know, material science, chemistry and materials are still the major users of our HPC resources. Physics here is actually astrophysics and plasma physics. Then we have earth and environmental science, and these are just the climate and geoscience people. Life science, mechanics engineering, in this specific case is computational fluid dynamics, and then the few other disciplines that they don't really use enough to have their own spot in there. Same story by institution. Just for your information, again, nothing else. You see, everybody is actually, all Switzerland is using our system. ETH and FFL are the major user for the moment, but University of Zurich, Basel are not doing bad, and also USI and Geneva, and there are also EMPA, PSI, but once again, they don't have enough large projects to be presented with their own name. And as you know, I mean, CSCS was always also open to international projects if they are good enough for us. And this is what was in 2016, 14%. 2016 actually has been pretty good in terms of proposal, because the situation has improved quite a lot with respect to 2015, when the success rate was around 50%. So a lot of proposal has been granted. Much more, okay, a lot of proposals. We had in total 80 proposals submitted in 2016, so 10% was fully granted, and 72% was granted with some cut, and 18% were rejected. This is okay, this you already know, I don't need to describe this again. Just for your information, as I said, I'm going to give just practical information in this presentation. The call for proposal to start on October 1st is over. We are in the process of reviewing, in the reviewing process. Next call for proposal will be, deadline for proposal will be October 15, 2017, to start on April 1st. We heard what Jürg was saying, and we are going to think how to sort of improve the 6 months waiting time. And the next call for proposal is already published, will be May 11, 2018, to start on October 1st. Please remember that there is all this information are always published on our webpage. And yeah, okay. This is just. I heard what you said, Jürg. But for the technical reviewers, I mean, we do need some real information to do the technical review. So we do need that you give us some numbers based on the real case study that you are, or one of the real thing that you are going to do in your proposal, and to make. We hope that it's to make your life easier, but please let us know if this is not the case. We provided you with we provided a sort of a template on how to do the technical description. To, as I said, we hope that it was to facilitate the writing of your proposal, but let us know if this is not the case. And don't forget that you can always contact CSCS for help before, of course, not 2 days before the deadline, but if you come to us in advance, we will try to help you as well as we can. As for the PRACE Tier 0 proposal, okay, also PRACE will have 2 calls for proposal per year. One has been has started already. The next one, I mean, the process is ongoing. ongoing. I do not have the date yet for call 16, but roughly this will be open in September, in the September timeframe again, and it will be again 2 months. You will have 2 months. The call will be open to write your proposal and to submit your proposal. I strongly suggest you also in PRACE to apply with a preparatory access, either at CSCS or on whatever machine you would like to have resources, because it is important to give some, also there, some real idea of what is that you want to do. Just because Thomas didn't have the slides in his presentation, this is what is available out there in Europe. Actually, there is the Curie in early 2018. There will be the new system in France. Then we have Hazelhen, which is a pure multi-core Cray XC40. Then you have the Marconi Broadwell and KNL. I know that some of you have already had some allocation or some experience there. Mare Nostrum has been announced actually at ISC. They almost completed the first part of the upgrade. So Mare Nostrum 4 is there, and this is a brand new machine. And then, of course, we have PITZDIND and SuperMOOC in Munich. So these are the resources that are available now in the PRACE call for proposal. And I just want to recall your attention to one important factor. The minimum resources requests are not a suggestion, these are mandatory, not only on PITZDIND, on all these systems. So if you are thinking of applying any other machine besides PITZDIND, you still will have to demonstrate that you need at least a minimum of 50 million or 20 million or whatever the various minimum requests are. Yeah, this is just once again to stress, PITZDIND in PRACE will only accept proposals that will ask above 1 million node hours and that they have a proved need of accelerators. Otherwise, they will not be able to, no, and this is it, they will not be able to run on PITZDIND. As I said, my presentation was very short and just to give you some practical information, but if you have some question or additional question for Thomas, please just ask it. Any question of any kind? Yes, Oli.
So we've talked a lot about how to get on the systems, but part of delivering good scientific results is also how to maintain a sane environment while you are on the system for the duration of the project. And so maybe this is more a question of who is doing what. So in terms of providing an environment for continuous integration and continuous testing, continuous deployment, how does CSCS see its role there in terms of supporting the users? Because this typically needs to be done on the target system where one has to run.
Okay, so we have in Guillermo's group quite, I would say quite an advanced set of services. And if I summarize, there's on one side, there's the software packaging, where I think we do a lot. We are not advertising it, I guess, outside of our user base, but certainly if you're a user at CSCS, you will know about this. We're using these easy build systems for the packaging, and for continuous testing and test-driven development, which we advocate. I realize this is a very difficult thing to do. There we have a Jenkins system, so we have a robot based on Jenkins that can be used as support. And if you have software repositories that you would like to, if you develop a software system and you would like to use this facility, to do your testing, continuous testing, we strongly encourage you to do this. And this is again is a support that we offer in the user support.
And we are working.
And then we have a third thing, which we did for some of the European projects that we are involved in, but that turns out to be extremely practical, particularly as we go into data science, is that we actually support Docker development. So if people develop Docker containers, we have a service that helps you support the develop the Docker containers in a way that you can deploy software in the form of Docker containers. And I believe also Singularity, or I'm not sure if not yet.
No,
okay, but we are looking at that as well. But the idea is in the long term that you can actually also deploy software in the form of containers on our systems.
And so maybe coming back to the applications, the PRACE proposals. So is there some way of encouraging users not to describe only scalability and efficiency, but also their plan to somehow keep the software sane for the duration of the project? Or is that not part of an application?
So could you repeat the question? I'm not sure I fully understand.
So basically when you try to apply for a tier 0 resource, do you also have to show a plan of how you are going to keep the software sane and what you are doing in terms of achieving a high quality of the software, or is it just about scalability and energy efficiency? Okay, so you want to actually, I see the point that you're making. And honestly, I'm not sure. I will have to scrutinize the PRACE technical review whether this is really going on.
Maybe not. They are more focused on the traditional technical review. This is a good point.
Olli is referring to the following, and I'm going to do it in very abstract, and the people who feel stepped on their feet, we can talk then in the break. What he's talking about is if you have a software system that is complex, okay, and you write the PRACE allocation and you show all the nice thing about scalability and use of GPUs and you pass that, but you chose a version of the software that is no longer supported by the consortium that created the software. Okay, so then you may run into problems that your software is not sustainable during the course of the 1-year course of the project, or if we have 3-year projects. And I'm not sure, if I'm honest, that a lot of people that sit even in here really understood what I said, let alone the other technical reviewers in Europe. So it's a point well taken. So I think I'm taking 2 real messages out of here. The one from Jörg, that we have to engage in a discussion, and I will come back to you, Jörg, and with also some work for you or some input and helping us how to improve the tier 1 process in Switzerland. And then I will go back to you, Olli, because I think this is, I see what you're talking about, but I think we need to think about that more. This is something I don't think I don't think the general computational scientists out there, in the state where our software is, and we had the panel discussion yesterday about this, I'm not sure we are ready to even review this. But you have an important point. I appreciate the feedback.
Yes.
May I? Simone, over here.
Yeah, but...
over there.
Okay.
So,
there is also Flavio up there. Okay.
Okay, so I don't know who went first. It's very hard here to see. So I need somebody who manages the question
first
down
Flavio
there.
and then Simone.
Okay.
Okay, thank you. Yes, with the
PRACE program that you showed a bit the resources and well, the different upgrades in Mare Nostrum, in Pit Stained, I have the impression that there is a gap that becomes bigger and bigger in between the big machines of institutes, research institutes, and big HPC machines. And I also have the impression that there are still many codes that are a bit in between. They are like too big to run in the small machines from the institutes, yet codes that don't need so much as what is given in HPC computing. So the question is, do you plan to fill the gap?
Okay, so I think this is a very good question. And you have to think a lot at the level of the institute how you design your compute strategy. Because the environment, the architectures change, the scale at which things are happening change. And I can tell you, even at ETH, I remember a few years ago, Matthias Treuer, who will be the next speaker, we wrote a proposal for an institutional cluster. And at the time, I was arguing why this is needed. And now I will tell you, for example, the University of Zurich has a much better strategy. They have their institutional, the equivalent of this cluster that we had at ETH, they have actually integrated in Pit Stained. So they have, instead of having their own cluster, which they may still have some OpenStack and other resources, but they have their institutional clusters integrated in Pit Stained on the multi-core and on the hybrid side. And I think for that institute, it now becomes very efficient to move from your laptop to the cluster, which is integrated in Pit Stained, and then to scale up if you need to scale up. And we will make sure the review process, when you scale up, is in a way that it works practically. So this is a new model that I really encourage all institutes to look at, because what's really happening and behind it that many of you may not be aware of is that the machines at this scale, like Pit Stained, when you look at the whole price of the machine, of course, it's a lot of millions of Swiss francs, and they sound very expensive. But when you compare the price per, say, 100 nodes or per node, you can normalize however you want, the cost of ownership of a machine like Pit Stained is significantly lower than in an institutional cluster. And this is something that happened about 2 or 3 years ago, and is also a consequence of this Moore's law discussion that we had on the first day. You remember a slide that, if you saw it, Karl-Heinz showed about the price you pay per transistors has been constant. The fraction of the price of the processors and the memory in the whole machine has gone up. And so that's why your cluster at the university and Pit Stained, in terms of the same processor, there's no reason why the processors would be cheaper at the university. Actually, it's cheaper in Pit Stained because we have economy of scale. And then the whole packaging of the system in Pit Stained is better, so we have more energy efficiency. And that's why, in the end, the investment cost is maybe the same. The cost of ownership is lower because the energy efficiency is much higher. And I think we need to have discussions like this because I'm very interested, of course, to help the research institutes in Switzerland to make good decisions about how they plan their own investments in the long term to make the ecosystem work. I don't know if this is helpful. So the gap, I think, can be filled, but you need to take a different view. Not be so fixated on the hardware you have yourself. And this is very much reflects also the situation you see in computer science, that a lot of computer scientists, they no longer have their own machines. They use a lot of our data scientists at ETH. They use cloud. So they acquire resources on AWS, and they can also, we have a pay-as-you-go service, which explicitly we offer for Swiss academia on Piet Stein. So you can also have, on the HPC side, a kind of a cloud pay-as-you-go service at CSCS. So I really encourage you to look at this. And I said University of Zurich, I called them out, but there are other institutes like PSI or the University of Lugano, Università della Svizzera Italiana, EPFL with the Marvel project. They are all benefiting from the same type of service.
Okay, I think maybe
Simone,
the last question,
one
Simone,
short
and then
question.
you can talk to Thomas.
Okay,
offline.
maybe it's only a technical question or a misunderstanding. Maria Grazia, before you showed how we can access tier 0, and you said that we need to show that we will use GPUs.
If you want to apply on Piet Stein,
so a large project.
No, just for
so let me be clear here. A large project, so million hour up, or large projects on Piet Stein have to be on the GPU accelerated. But you have other tier 0 systems in Europe. So KNL, you have multicore, you have really, so this is really a strength that we have in Europe.
Sorry, but there was maybe just a misunderstanding. If you're applying PRACE calls, and you're not interested in Piet Stein, you can forget about the acceleration. I mean, you just...
you go to another system, and you have the same review process. So I think this is really the beauty of this PRACE thing, that I really encouraged you to look at.
Okay, I thank you all for participating and actually for discussing and having questions for Thomas. And now enjoy your lunch. And I'll see you in the afternoon.